Mame fa na se ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de o se dem yopo.
PENDREAM TV. Where Martin people at the report to be ama ora team no. $1 million here. Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo ene Baumia EBI. Na wina. Lawyer Martin people at the evidence and the report ama ora team. Investigations ekoso. Na ensembik we huna lawyer Martin people at the studio. Papa be kana na yati ensem in chilling. Na answer na people subscribe to the channel.
We need to get to the bottom of that matter. That money is a lot more than what we borrowed from the IMF. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Counsel. Thank you very much. But with the preparatory team's work, will any loot be recovered? Does it look like you can recover any loot, so-called?
Oh yes. That one is there are low-hanging fruits that you see that even at this preparatory stage, as you mentioned, we don't have the mandate to do vigorous investigations and prosecution, right? We are just gathering evidence. And even at this gathering stage, you see that based on some of the petitions that we saw, straight away we reported to the police and national security, and they were able to take action. So you see that yesterday at Honorable Ablakwe's vetting, we were able to show that we saved 20 bungalows that were about to go down in cantonments. 20 bungalows, and if you look at the lands, those are millions of dollars, not Ghana cedis. Yeah, because they were about to demolish and do some transactions that are not on, okay? So we've halted, through the actions of national security and the police, those have been halted. So those are some of the fruits of the preparatory team. You remember the NDA matter too. Yes, the NDA to the wall, the partitioner of that land, etc., sold to private developer. You see that we went and then reported to national security, and they too, using police, they were able to do the needful, and so those were halted. There are other things. You remember the agric mechanization land. Yes, those empty plots there, who is going to build on them? No, they are not going to be built. So those ones who, that's land that's being recovered for the state. So that you will see a lot more. In fact, you will see a lot more, just even for the preparatory team. Because once we are citizens, we are allowed to report. If we see anything wrong, we are allowed to report. And so the police and national security can take action in the interim. Yes. I keep telling you that, not just you, I keep making the point that I think that the setting up of the constitution by, the setting up of the committee by JM is a master stroke. Yeah, that much, I believe so. Because you see that if we hadn't started this early, what would have happened is that by the time the government settles, a lot of bad stuff would have gone through. So with the early setting up of the committee, you see that it served as a check, at least to some extent. It cannot be 100% perfect, but it's a reasonable check. So this committee is actually a master stroke.
I see. In fact, I would spend a little time on this oral preparatory team as we go on the show, and because from what we got earlier, what this essentially means is that your work has come to an end with the appointment of the Attorney General. And so the indication that Samalokuja Ablakwa gave yesterday was that you were putting your report together to submit to the president, correct?
Yes.
In the coming days.
Well, practically now, it doesn't look like it's in the coming days, maybe in the coming weeks. Yesterday, we were built to meet the Attorney General, Dr. Ayene, but because of the vetting, Honorable Ablakwa was scheduled to be vetted on Thursday.
Yes.
Then yesterday, Friday, we would have met the Attorney General. But because the vetting couldn't come on Thursday, and it had to be done yesterday, then the meeting got cancelled. So we'll have to meet the Attorney General first before we meet the president. So maybe we should say in the coming weeks.
In the coming weeks?
Yes.
Okay. But then you maintain that you received 1,000 or near 1,000 petitions.
Yeah, let's correct this. Some of them are information. Not petitions. So what some of them are is that somebody will send an email that, hey, watch this institution, X, Y, Z. There's something ongoing. Some huge payments are being made, or that. that. So that is not necessarily a petition. The petitions generally are the ones that the person has details and can show some specifics of wrongdoing. But we are not underestimating the importance of the leads. Those are important because when you get some of those, then you can inform the appropriate institutions to, also look into those. So we are very, 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 very grateful for the leads, the tapes, the petitions, etc.
We'll get into it here on Cape One. Let me also welcome a public and economic policy analyst.
Other management of the Parliament House, they should look at it again. Make it happen in a place where everybody who wants to attend can attend. If we were to make it in a place where a place that can seat 1,000 people, hopefully it shouldn't. We shouldn't have such overcrowdedness and etc.
Well, this is what we have right now, and this chaos that we saw. In fact, the chaos started way before it got into the conference room itself, because we also observed that the door to the entrance of the building that has this conference room where the vetting is taking place, that glass door was also broken. We will put that on the screen in a bit. But when you got there, because Ujota Blackwell was scheduled to be vetted on Thursday night. So it was that night that the incident happened. And then we saw that chaos on the screen shortly. What exactly was running through your mind when you saw that level of chaos? And this is the door, the glass door that was destroyed. And this is the entrance, way before the chaos happened. So the point you make about the number of people as well, yes, we can point to this and say it's something that could be considered, because the people were forcing themselves in.
And yesterday was worse. I'll tell you a certain story. Let me put in a short one and then go to what I saw there, the reactions. Look, yesterday too, as I said, because they said only 10, each nominee should come with only 10 guests, it was so bad that a certain MP coming, I don't want to mention names, I want us to get the lessons rather than just mentioning names. A certain MP wanted to come out, but because people were struggling to enter, it became so frustrating for the MP that the MP referred to somebody's spouse. Want us to concentrate on the lessons, what we should do. Yeah, that MP was so frustrated, like the MP wants to come out, people are pushing him. Then the MP said, excuse me, and some other words to that effect. But because there was so much force from those who want to enter, she wasn't getting her way. Then all of a sudden, the MP said, look at it big up there. So all of us, you can just imagine. So you see the frustration that the MP experienced at the door, one of those doors. The next thing was that, it was so terrible. So now
let's move to what we are saying now with the minority whip.
Yes, he said they had agreed to vet 4. There were other persons who also, I will remember the names, who also came out and said 4, right? And earlier in the day, I heard on City FM, the names of 6 were rather mentioned to be vetted, and even there were complaints that, can you finish 6 in one day, considering how the vetting of Sam George went over 5 hours, right? So far, it appears there's some credibility to that story that a certain number was agreed upon, that 4. But let's note this carefully. Before they agreed on the 4, or even if you use 6 for Thursday, remember that earlier on, they had sent letters to some of the nominees. So there was a timetable prior to the happenings of the Thursday. And the first incident that disrupted the timetable was the fact that on Wednesday, they couldn't sit because they had to deal with Oliver Bakavomawo's case.
Yes.
So it disrupted the timetable. So you see that yesterday, Ablakwa had in his hands a letter that had been written earlier to him that he was scheduled for Thursday at 1 p.m. So you could see that it was a timetable that had been disrupted, and they failed to communicate to these nominees that oh, based on the fact that we couldn't sit on Wednesday, your appearance on Thursday would be affected. That is where the problem came from. So you see that eventually yesterday, Avenue Markin had to apologize to, apart from the chairman of the committee apologizing to the nominees and their families and all of us. Avenue Markin to eventually did, because earlier in the day he had addressed a press conference where he made statements that were unsavory, etc. So he apologized. So that's what really happened. So it means that if we are analyzing the fact that there had been a timetable which obviously was disrupted, and so that Thursday they had agreed to do 4, or even if you take it 6 nominees, it means that that agreement supersedes their earlier timetable. The only problem is that they failed to communicate to Honorable Ablakwa and co. But the point is that those doing the vetting had agreed, the MPs, the committee had agreed that whether you go by the 4 or you go by the 6, that was the number that was agreed upon. So if you try to go beyond 4 or 6, there will be a problem. So to that extent, unless there are any other facts that I'm not aware, you can see that this protest, putting the chairs on the table per se for now without any further distraction is something that I think, well, we can accommodate within our democracy. Because sometimes, they tell you that actions speak louder than words. So if we keep protesting that, look, we are going away, and maybe the chairman and others will not budge because they have numbers. If you lifted your chair and put it on the table, that per se hasn't gone too far. I think we can accommodate that. Where it goes too far is when it got too physical, and you find Jerry, a lawyer, lifting the table. Then you find the other MPs.
That's
also,
what on the screen there.
Yes, but earlier on, Jerry, who is a lawyer, had lifted the table by himself. I hope you have that.
Let's go back a bit, yes.
Yes, there is that video too before these other ones. Then there was also the MP who was in the cream suit. Yeah, he also did a lot of pushing. The MP in the cream suit.
So the Jerry Ahmed is what the person.
You see. Even later on, you see another one. He alone, he lifted it up. It was more than I could take. It was more than I could take.
All the people holding the table are MPs.
Yes. So you see, this one is the latter one. You find at a point he alone lifting the table. So it's like matters had calmed down. Then you find he alone lifting. So presumably, if you see him pushing back, that means that these MPs you see in your shot, then they must be in the minority because he's pushing against them. Do you see that? Do you see? If we went back to the extent that Jerry was pushing against these MPs and the policeman, then it means that these MPs must be the majority. That's the NDC MPs, because there's no reason why he'll be pushing against them, right?
Right.
So he did. Yes.
Right.
This one. Yes. You say.
Yes,
so what we're saying is that at least the beginning, the putting of the chairs on the table, as I've said, for now, until maybe I'm shown superior facts and arguments, I will not quibble that much with that. But where it got to pushing the table, breaking it, and then in actual fact, hurting them, that's where it went overboard. It went overboard.
Brother, I don't know how we justify it. It's not. I don't agree with my brother Martin.
Why is that?
Martin is my guy anymore, but this one is.
No, I said, be specific. I said at the time where they lifted the chairs, just that one.
I don't agree with you.
Why would you put the chairs on the table behind
this one? I don't agree with putting the chairs.
That's the one.
This one is allowed.
That's the one I said.
You would allow this?
Yes.
Why?
Because, as I said, you see, sometimes communication. Maybe the person is not hearing well, so I say, look, I'll do a little bit just for you to see that this is my protest.
No, but come to that,
it's
so many other ways.
Oh, don't forget, I'm the same person that when Oliver Baka from our went and did the stance at the 37, the Galamsey fight. Say, now let's draw consistency. Yeah. When Oliver and Co went to 37, the demonstration, did you say you supported their actions or not?
No, I didn't support the blocking the road because of where it was. There will be safety. People are going to the hospital. we shouldn't block their access.
There have been notice of that demonstration for months.
No,
so we're saying that there's not just one entrance to 37. There are several. If the police had planned well,
I support the Galamsey fight. I was very happy to have citizens like Vomawo, yourselves, get on the streets. We should see more activism in the country. It captures or draws the attention of politicians properly. But, you know, this is national TV. We are not a people without a culture. And our children are watching. Is this what you want them to see?
That's why.
I understand what, Martin, you are trying to say, that it's not as bad. That's what Martin is saying. It's not as bad. We could have lived with it. But I don't think we should live with anything.
Yeah, that was it. So when you break, I can't. I might be something that I ban away. Subscribe to channel no. Like in a shade you made in my Afro and Kabi. My crowd. If we share in the next video.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.